Here I am. Apologies for the delay. I've literally just come in. Right, who's in? Sean Rising, now then, Derek, Joe, Professor Andy, Samuel Saxon, Whiskey Straight Al, morning, Kate, all right, how are you? Thanks for modding. Sadwings is in, fucking hell, he's been like Zorro lately, hasn't he? John Hunter, V for Vianetta. Matt Kelly, JVPA, Kev Wright, everyone else, how are you? Right. I haven't even had a chance to read the news today, so I'll have to quickly. I'll just do it on the fly, shall I? You're used to me doing it on the fly. It's fine. And the ladies who know me in my life have known that I'm good at winging it, finishing abruptly, and then talking about irrelevant things on the fly. I'm good at that. What I'm sure you've all seen. There's been another shooting. It's weird how even in the UK, it's headline news. And even that should tell you something, right? Because it really isn't. I don't mean to sound like one of those horrible bastards who talks about, statistics when it comes to massive casualties, i.e. one death's a tragedy, a million's a statistic. But basically, a bloke going mental and shooting a few people is not that fucking strange or rare or interesting. There's a lot of weirdos in the world. Considering there's 8 billion people now, it's quite surprising how few there are, really. Especially in the United States, guns are so ubiquitous and there's nothing you can really do about it, that it seems to me to be very strange how it's headline news all around the world whenever there's a shooting. Because there's loads of them. If you go to a dodgy neighborhood in Chicago or New York, every weekend, some mad black drug dealer goes on a rampage and shoots a shitload of people. On average, there's about 30 or 40 gun murders every week in Chicago. But they don't tell you about that. It's not headline news in the UK when that happens. Every Monday, if we're going to be consistent, every Monday, the BBC News should be another 30 dead in Chicago this weekend. But there isn't. So that alone should tell you what's going on here. It's obviously the agenda is to have a pop through. Basically, it's pure spite. They want to annoy American conservatives who cling to the First and Second Amendments for a good reason. And obviously, the globalists twats who run the world are against that because they want the populace to be disarmed. It's not happening. Not happening. Bootneck's got a shooter, and if you want to come and get it, come and fucking get it. I will introduce you to the business end because you're not having it. You're not having it. I've never broke the law. I'm in my 40s. I don't have a criminal record. I've never been in trouble with the police. I'm keeping it. Fuck off. I'll keep it. What film's that off? Is that Snatch or Lockstock where he's trying to haggle with him? He goes, it's a deal. It's a steal. It's the sale of this fucking century. In fact, fuck it. I'll keep it. Yeah, I'm keeping it. Never been in trouble with the law. I'm keeping it. Fuck you. And thankfully, there's tens of millions of people that are far more stubborn than me. Because, joking aside, if it really came down to the fact that probably killed me and all my entire family, probably just let them have it. I'm not as wedded to it as people like Sadwings and all of the Alabama preppers are. Thankfully, there's millions of them, and they'll carry the can for wet, middle-of-the-road, socially liberal chaps like me. But you're not having it. You can see how it's all part of the agenda, because there's 30 shootings every weekend in Chicago, and they don't care. They just want to tell you about publicise the big ones, usually where the shooter was a white guy, right? I bet a lot of you lot don't even know the name Chris Dorner. Chris Dorner, I remember this is when I first moved to LA, so it's probably about 8 years ago or something. There's a bloke called Chris Dorner, went mental, shot a load of people, but he was black, so they don't like talking about him. They want to find out. They want to find people who look like me who shoot people, and then they'll publicise the shit out of it. Anyway, who was it? Let's have a look. Fucking hell, 72-year-old. Jesus, he must have had a bad day. Hu Cam Tran is the only suspect. Oh, there you go. It was an Asian bloke. Monterey Park. See, you know why that is? Because I don't think there are any white people in Monterey Park. Some of those areas in LA are like 90% Asian. Like you walk around them and you don't see any. It's so strange to me that people keep going on about white blokes, especially in states like California. Because honestly, you never see people who look like me. In my local gym, I reckon 80% of them are Hispanic, dark. It's not really a word I like, but you know, dark Mexicans. It's not like people like me. You can't move for blue-eyed, pasty white blokes. There's not that many. And in areas in LA, Arcadia, my missus has family out there. You don't see any white people. You just see Asians. So it's sort of strange how we keep talking about minorities. Like at this point, in large areas of the United States, you are the minority. Like I'm definitely the minority. Globally, we're a minority, and on an individual level, we're a minority. So it's a bit weird we keep going on about it. Oh, he's a triad, eh? Surely he's not a triad. It's 72-year-old. Is he a retired triad? Although, yeah, healthier aren't the Asians? You know, they have a good diet. Maybe you can still be an active triad when you're in your 70s. I definitely think I was retired by the time they're in the 50s, don't they? Boot looks Albanian. Do I? Do I look Albanian? What do Albanians look like? I mean, I suppose I'm quite dark, but I mean, that's like Irish as well, isn't it? Irish and Scottish, but there's a lot of brown-haired, blue-eyed Celtic people. Definitely a minority in Londonistan, 100%. And it's getting there, even up north in some places, Manchalabad. If you walk through areas of Manchester now, it's proper. Like you've crashed your helicopter behind enemy lines in Mogadishu. You know, when I walk through there, I start having flashbacks. Like, I think I think if I see a Toyota Corolla and it appears to be weighted with a lot of someone's, you know, moving, there's a lot of furniture in there, I just assume they've got several 107mm rockets in the trunk, and they're going to blow in the boot. And they're going to blow me to Kingdom Come. Oh, I did it again then, didn't I? Called it the trunk. I know it offends you lot. Isn't it weird? Sadwings knows. British people have got such a class-based society that they hate you if you do well. You know, like Ricky Gervais said, like, if you're in England and you have a nice car, people just hate you. In America, people look at it and go, oh, that's nice. And they'll say, oh, to the neighbours and that, oh, I like your car. Did you get it? Like, where did you get it from? Oh, I'd like to get a car like that. In England, if you see a nice car, people go, we hate that person. And I've noticed the British, they hate it when they think you're trying to get like above your station and be like cosmopolitan. Because occasionally I'll accidentally say something like that. I've talked about it before. I'll go, yeah, toss that in the trash. Because I've been living out here for years. And if you say, shove it in the bin, everyone just looks at you like you're a fucking idiot. So you start using them, toss it in the trash. And everybody in the pub back home, fucking hell, here he is. Texas Pete, fucking hell, proper having a go at you. I think you're trying to, like, you know, be some sort of effete middle-class arsehole who jet sets. You know, the type of person who calls it a croissant, you know, nobody likes that, do they? If I don't think I've ever bought a croissant, but no, I have. In the military, they used to sell cheese and bacon croissants in the naffy. So I have bought a croissant, but I call it a fucking croissant, right? Nobody likes it when you go, oh, yes, can I have... So especially if you're in Greggs, you know, you'll get some middle-class arsehole who went to university down south, and they'll be in Sunderland visiting the parents for the weekend, and they'll get a fucking sausage and bean melt and a croissant. And they'll go, I'll have a sausage and bean melt and a croissant. Fuck off. So don't have a pop at me for the occasional slip into Americanisms. I will still call it a croissant, right? It's funniest when they're buying pure shit, isn't it? I expect someone who asks for a croissant to be like, you know, they have a bottle of Pellegrino, half a croissant and a fag for the breakfast, you know, like some sort of like effete middle-class artist from like the suburbs of Paris. But when you go into Greggs and you go like, right, I'll have 3 steak bakes and a sticky toffee muffin and a croissant. Anyway, just rambling. Pan au chocolat. I don't like them. I don't like the way people pronounce them. Pan au chocolat. Chocolate pan. Give me a breadstick with chocolate on it. Fuck off. Have a crumpet, Sean. Have a crumpet. A croissant and a taser. Croissant, une taser. Galloway's pies in Wigan. I've never had one. I do love pork pies. There's a proper good bit of scran of pork pie. Anyway, let's talk about the shooting instead of discussing crumpets and baked goods at length. So he was 72-year-old, self-inflicted gunshot wound, blew his head off, killed a load of Asians celebrating the Lunar New Year festival. Well, you've got to lean towards mental illness at that age, haven't you? If you're in your 70s, if you haven't gone mental and shot the shit out of everyone by the time you're in your 70s, you'd assume that you were sort of normal. So I have no idea. I'll tell you what, though, I'm impressed with that, Sad Wings. I'm impressed an American man knows who Hyacinth Bucket is. I'm assuming that's who you're talking about there, right? I'm impressed. I didn't think Keeping Up Appearances, which was moderately popular in the early 90s, maybe. I didn't think that had made it across the pond, but there you go. Something must have happened there. Either he's off his tits or he's really, really angry like Killdozer was. And he's just gone on a rampage because he's thought, you know what? Fuck it, got now to lose now. I do understand the appeal of that. Like, I've talked many times about how they keep cultivating this feeling of anger and resentment to the point where people don't really want to work and stuff. And actually, I listened to Jordan Peterson yesterday on a podcast, and he basically made the same comments what I was saying yesterday on Ragnar's podcast. It is a phenomenon that's well known, the race to the bottom, right? It does happen. If you start where it feels like people are getting picked on, blokes who would normally have been productive, useful members of society will just lose the temper and go, you know what, fuck yous then. Like I said, I blame men because I'm mildly sexist. I have a soft spot for women. Right? I've had this out with my missus where she's occasionally said I'm a little bit misogynistic in whatever way. And I've gone, I'm definitely not a misogynist. I'm a little bit sexist. There's a massive difference. There's a massive difference between being a little bit prejudiced, like we all are. All humans are a little bit prejudiced. And being a full-blown racist. Do you know what I mean? And I've talked about that before because it's why I don't think the vast majority of people that get called racist actually are racists, because almost nobody has a genuine, irrational hatred for someone just because they're a different ethnicity. Because we're not collectivists, are we? Which is what, actually, that reminds me. I'll segue onto something. Remind me. I'll put my Twitter on so I don't forget. Where is it? I'm going to do this so I don't forget Twitter. Put that on. Humza Yusuf always appears on my Twitter whenever I type in TWI and just hit return. This twat appears. I'll pop it up just to show you. Every time I press TWI, that cunt appears on my. I'm telling you, I'm convinced Google do it on purpose. I've like wiped my cookies, deleted my history, everything. If I just type BBC and hit return, I get the black trans lesbian militant groups. And if I just type TWI and hit return, I get fucking Humza Yusuf. Like, it's like Google know who annoys me and they purposely put them at the fore. Anyway, remind me to come back to that because I want to talk about a fucking moron that's having a pop at the blue van, man. I woke up to it this morning and I was going to respond. And then I thought, no, I can't because it'll take me fucking hours. I hate getting into arguments online because I like to use my voice. I'm a fast talker and I'm a moderately fast typer. But if I get into a full-blown back-and-forth debate on Twitter, it just really, really annoys me. Then just typing and typing and typing and typing. Oh, here he is, the man himself. Blue Van Man's in. Yeah, I was just talking about you, Dave. So I woke up to this hubbub and I want to talk about it, but I'm going to do it after I've finished what I was talking about. Oh, actually, I can talk. I can just do it now, can't I? Because I was basically segueing into it. What I was saying is, most people who get called racist are a little bit prejudiced. That's all. And everybody on earth is a little bit prejudiced because it's human nature. And there's a massive difference. You shouldn't conflate minor prejudice with racism, because full-blown racism is irrational and unacceptable for anybody who considers themselves enlightened and intellectual. And prejudice is understandable and normal, and everybody has it. So the reason I was talking about how I have a soft spot for women because I'm mildly sexist is because women generally have a better demeanor and the more agreeable, which again, the science, the data proves it right, doesn't it? Women are more agreeable than men. So the reason I've got a soft spot for them in a little bit is because I'm a bit sexist. I accept that there's differences between us, and to me, they are undeniable. So it's logical to make certain assumptions about women, which by definition, because this is the crazy, crazy world we're living in, that makes you sexist. I am a little bit sexist because I follow the data and the science, and I'm well aware that women are a little bit more agreeable and they're easier to get on with. But obviously that's got downsides as well, hasn't it? Which is why everything's in a state of flux and you need to have input from everyone to keep things fucking sane, keep the world turning. Anyway, this fucking idiot, let's talk about it now. I'll talk about it. So I woke up to this hubbub between Dave and some bloke who appears to be constantly contradicting himself. He started gobbing off about calling myself and Dave, basically insulting us, it looks like, for being a Zionist civic nationalist. And by the looks of his weird posts, he's a full-blown a militant white nationalist. And the reason I'm talking about this, saying he's a bit of a fucking idiot and he's completely contradicting himself, is because he seems to be having a pop at our blue van man friend, saying, "Oh, you could have had it made, and instead you just started being some sort of wet centrist." Basically, is what he's saying, which is contradicting his own argument. Because, yeah, look at that one. Can you see that on the screen? Is it big enough? Yeah, look at that shit. No, Dave, YouTube was your big moment. It was your shot. Your future is now waiting for you at a warehouse. Where is the other thing you've had lined up? Like having a pop as if his personal life's anything to do with it. And that was linked to this fucking bollocks he made up. You had it all lined up for you. You were on True Geordie's podcast and got to give Vardy a Player of the Month. I don't know any about that shit. You pissed away your YouTube career to act as a political controlled opposition. So this bloke here is attempting to make the argument that he pissed his YouTube career away. It's not a fucking career, is it? If it's your career, it's not a career, it's a job. It's an income. The word career, I said this yesterday, and I first started thinking about it when I watched the Despot of Andrew talking about it. Career is a shit word. It's a shit word. They say career so that you'll be a good little fucking drone and throw yourself in the entirety into working, into going to work. It's not a career. It's a fucking job. It pays the bills. People go on YouTube, even the ones with millions of subscribers, they do it to make easy money. It's easy money, isn't it? It's not a career. It's fucking daft. If your career, the only time I'll ever concede when someone's involved in a career is if they're genuinely doing something that's really, really high-minded. If you're someone like fucking a career scientist, right? You're a physics professor and your whole career was pushing humanity forward. You've got a career. But most people, they've got a fucking job and they're paying the bills. It's not a career. If you're really driving humanity into the stars, I'll say, all right then, yeah, you go your career. Most people that are in a white collar career, they're selling shit. The vast majority of people work in marketing. It's not a career. You're just trying to make as much money as possible. And the real key to being happy in life is to totally get away from that dynamic. And I say this as someone who, as you know, isn't fucking skint. I'm not in any debt. I'm doing fine. I can't spend the money I make. I never do, because I don't do anything. So to me, I don't need to chase a career and make vast amounts of money because I wouldn't do anything with it. I'd hoard it, and then when I died, it'd all go, oh no, I wouldn't leave it to my nephews because I'd stitch them up if I give them loads of money. A tiny fraction of it would go to my nephews, and the rest would get set on fire, given to, if there is a charity out there that exists that I could trust, I'd give it to them. The fucking charity that looks after poor, downtrodden, straight white men from the north. But that doesn't exist. So fuck it, it's all going in the bin. But what I'm getting at is, this barmy cunt, I just woke up to what appears to be a self-own, a bloke contradicting himself, who seems to be saying, you pissed away your YouTube career to act as controlled opposition. So he seems to be saying, what you want to do if you want to have a successful YouTube career is be a hardcore white nationalist and advocate deporting people that were born in the UK. And he seems to think that is the key to YouTube gold, which I'm telling you is, I don't even understand why you bothered arguing with him, bloke, because I read some of his posts. He contradicted himself 2 posts later, and he just sounds like a spastic. So I wouldn't even bother talking to the bloke because that doesn't even make any sense. You had it all lined up. So what you should have done is went 10 times more right-wing than you actually are. That would have done well. It wouldn't have done well. You'd have probably got fucking banned off the platform forever. So at least if you get a couple of thousand views, you've got someone listening to what you're saying, like me, as opposed to going full cut or whatever he appears to be advocating and getting yourself fucking deleted forever. Maybe he's just a commie and he's trying to wind you up, which is what I'm saying is why I didn't even respond to the bloke. Because I read the ridiculous, irrational, often self-refuting shite that he was typing. And I thought, no, he's a monk. He's either special needs or he's a commie trying to bait you in to saying something that'll get you banned. It'll be one of them, innit? As soon as you respond and say, you're a bit of a retard, aren't you? You've got the IQ of a pork pie. If I upended a shoebox with a rat in it on my keyboard, it would type more logical things than you've managed. So fucking do one. He's waiting for you to do that so that he can press the fucking report button of friendship and get you through off the platform forever. So don't even talk to people like that, Dave, is what I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't even waste my time. When a bloke can't type when he's refuting his own arguments within 30 seconds of making them, you're dealing with someone who's a bit fucking special, right? This angry white male. I mean, even the name. It's probably it's Owen Jones. It's Owen Jones. He's trying to make white men that are in a bad mood about politics look totally irrational, self-conflagratory. They just burn themselves to the ground, argue against their own points, and just sound completely special needs all the way through. So short one, Dave. Don't talk to him because he sounds a bit fucking special, that cunt. Right, let's find some actual news. Asian Americans haven shattered by dance. Yeah, worst haven ever. America's gun culture. So it's just the whole BBC page, again, as usual, is guns, 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 which they don't do if a load of blokes shoot a 7-year-old girl in the face in Chicago. That's not, think of it, that happens all the time. A little kid gets killed. Some gangbangers in Chicago kill a kid. It's loads of times it's happened because they can't shoot for shit. They don't know the marksmanship principles and go, oh, the weapon must point naturally at the target. No, they go, what's up, dog? Shoot sideways and the rounds go all over the shop. And then some little kid catches one in the face. And that isn't headline news for days, is it? Little kids getting shot in the eyeball by black gangbangers isn't headline news for days. So, in fact, what am I doing? I shouldn't be giving them any more oxygen, should I? Let's just ignore it. I'll sum up in 30 seconds. Every day, tons of people, young people, kids get shot. Every weekend, you're in the dozens in Chicago. Nobody talks about it because it's not going to make political hay. They don't care. They don't care if a 7-year-old black girl gets killed by a gangbanger called G-Wiz or whatever the fucking names are, G-Dog. They don't care. But they get this shit and they'll run with it for a week, and every single link, after link, look at China, oh, the terrible community, don't care. It's just shit. Hero, disarm the gunman, never seen a gun. Oh, look, the real hero had never seen a real gun. There you go. Promoting this shit. You know you can be a real hero? Don't go anywhere near a gun. You'll be way better at defending people if you don't go near a gun. It's all bollocks. It's all bollocks. Little kids get shot in Chicago every weekend and nobody cares. So it's all shit. It's all part of the agenda. Fuck them. And if they want my gun, well, they're not having it. The only thing they're having is the business end and some high velocity rounds coming out of it. So that's bollocks. Let's do something else. Let's do something that actually interests me. Indigenous Canadian jacket found in a UK vintage store. Who fucking cares? Why is this news? Why is this news? All right. A shitty jacket is in a vintage store in Barnsley. Barnsley. No one cares. That's not news. Why is this on the homepage? Do you see what I'm telling you? There's loads of actual news they could do, but they're not interested. It's agenda. That isn't news. That's going to segue into some bollock story about cultural appropriation, like some thieving white man pinched this. He stopped some innocent Inuit who was out seal club. No, not seal clubbing. Gay clubbing. He was in a gay bar. And this horrible white man stole off him. He probably was a seal clubber. It was a seal clubber's jacket. And he swapped a bit for a bottle of whiskey. So he bought it and he brought it back. But they'll just turn it into a story about the evil white man robbing the natives. It's not news. And then 7 stories about this because it's making political hay, and no stories about the black men killing little kids. So it's fine. It's fine. But we don't have to read it, do we? So fuck them. Men must stand up for Afghan women. You first, mate. You first. I love that. Professor Marshall, who runs a private university in Kabul, says he's had enough of the restrictions women face in Afghanistan. He's just after a visa, He's just after a visa. He'd be like, men should be doing more for women, and I help women, so I think you should give me a green card and a condo in Florida. Yeah, cheers. You fuckers, let's have a pop at the Afghan men, right? There's no excuse for the Afghan men who got trained and equipped and mollycoddled by the Westerners for 25 years to just instantly roll over the second that shit for brains, piss-sodden president ripped and ran and left 13 dead American kids in the sand. The Westerners, predominantly the Americans, did all the heavy lifting, but everybody else have put more than enough time, effort and blood into Afghanistan. If you want women to be able to go to university, you need to sort that shit out yourselves. We've done our part. We paid for it. We trained it. We spent the money. We paid in blood. We put the effort in for 25 years. Put some effort in yourself. This is what I'm talking about, right? The reason that all these countries are totally fucked and are never going to get any better because of these globalist shit for brains. And they are shit for brains because it's basic common sense. It is proper common dog, right? How do you make a country better if you instantly promote it loudly and proudly every day? As soon as things get hard, fuck off. We should put that on the United Nations banner on Facebook because I follow the UN on Facebook out of morbid curiosity. They just talk total bollocks all day long, woke buzzwords. The United Nations motto should be, if things get hard, fuck off. Just fuck off. If the Brits had done it, the Nazis would have took over the fucking world, right? Because we went, fuck it, we'll just go to Canada. Whoop. And then they'd have took that. And then then they take Ireland. And then they'll go to Canada and we go, fuck, better leave Canada. Then we go down and we all fuck off to America. And then by this point, the Nazi menace has got the entirety of the northern border with America. And they've got the whole of Europe. And they've got all the mates in a resurgent Japan who's just twatted the Chinese. And they've consolidated in Australia and Japan. And then they take Hawaii. And then they're coming from the northern border and they're coming from the west. And America's fucked. That's what would have happened if modern logic applied in 1940. because the United Nations and the BBC and the globalist twats who promote this fucking bollocks by these self-righteous shitbags in places like Afghanistan who love to talk a good game but won't put any effort in at all when it comes to actually fixing their own country. That is what would have happened if we applied modern logic to the Nazis, because everyone was just told, would be told, just fuck off and leave. Well, things are getting difficult. Yeah, just fuck off and leave. Of course they would. Of course they would. The Germans would never. Why wouldn't they? We're telling everyone to fuck off and leave. Oh, the Germans are coming. Fuck off and leave. They wouldn't have. Of course they could invade Canada. It'd be easy because everybody who's supposed to fight them just goes, I'm not doing that. I've been told by the BBC and the United Nations and the and the World Bank and fucking Klaus cunt lips. I've been told that you just leave. You just leave. As soon as someone turns out to be a cunt or tries you in a little bit of a test you in anyway, just leave. Just leave. Do one. Now to do with me. That's the modern now to do with me. That's what we should teach the kids today, right? Stiff up a lip, sense of humour in adversity. Nah. If things get hard, fuck off. If things get hard, fuck off. That's all you have to do. So Professor Marshall needs to have a look in the mirror if he wants to look how we fix Afghanistan. The reason everything is fucked is because we promote the people that should be sticking around to make things better leave. Just get on a boat, sneak into the West. Doesn't matter where you end up. Germany, France, Italy, Spain, England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales. You'll get greeted by a bunch of shit-for-brains communists and they'll all be climbing over each other to suck you off and put you in a taxpayer-funded house and feed you and do everything for you. So we promote this. We promote it. That's why there's no backbone anymore, because we promote open, naked cowardice. The worst of them all was that Alan Kudry, when that little kid, you all remember. I like having an audience that I know at this point, because I know I don't need to. Nobody in here needs me to Google it and find the story, do I? Because you all know Alan Kudry is, and you remember the political hay that was made by some slimy, lying journalist taking a photo of one dead kid out of millions and putting it all over the news for a week. And that one action was enough to see the entirety of Europe throw the borders open. Literally, that's all it took. One photo of a dead kid, and they all went, yeah, let them all in. Merkel. Again, see, and now I'm back to being a little bit sexist. It's because women, more agreeable than men, more emotional than men, see a dead kid and just go, let them all in. Let them all in. There's no logic at all. When you're a politician, when you're a world leader, you have to view the world as statistics. And the old quote about one death, a tragedy, a million is statistic. It's right. You have to view the big picture when you're a politician. And this is what people like Churchill understood. When you're a great world leader, you need to be coldly logical and ignore little pointless tweaks at your heartstrings and do what's right. Make the difficult decisions. And Merkel, whether it's all bollocks and it was just contrived so they could do it, or she genuinely did feel it, but she saw a picture of a dead kid and went, let them all in. There's 1.5 million fucking unvetted men at the borders. Let them all in. I've just seen a picture of a dead kid. Let them all in. I mean, think of that. Think of that logically. If only 1 in every 100 of those fighting age men that Merkel let in ended up being a rapist or a paedophile or a murderer. If only 1 in 100, and that is a very, very low ball figure, right? Men, lots of testosterone, young men, they're the worst demographic. Most violent crimes done by young men. If only 1 in 100 of the 1.5 million blokes that Merkel led into Europe was a pedo, nonce, rapist, even less a thug, violent, beats people up, a burglar. If only 1 in 100 was, she's just welcomed in tens of thousands of pedos, rapists, murderers, thugs, muggers, burglars. And it happened because of one dead kid. See the dead kid, fucking hell, let them all in. Well, how many kids' lives are you going to fuck up with your irrational, needlessly emotional, histrionic fucking bollocks? Because someone like me who would make the hard decision and go, yes, it's heartbreaking to see a picture of a dead kid. But I'm a human with a rational brain that can actualize the future, right? I'm not a fucking gibbon. And I can go, one dead kid equals letting 1.5 million hairy-ass men equals at least a few thousand little kids getting bent over a park bench and had donkeyed into them by a fighting age foreign swarthy man. It's literally all, I'd put that together in 10 seconds. Yeah? So, fuck the dead kid. It's basically, I'm a straight talker. That's the logic to go through. I'm not saying it's not sad when a kid dies, but I'm saying any logical, reasonable person would do that equation in their head in about 10 seconds. You go, one dead kid, tragedy. 10,000 fucked kids, much worse. Therefore, don't open the borders. Don't let the unvetted men in. Therefore, carry on doing the same thing that we did throughout my childhood when the immigration system worked, the early 80s, and lock the borders down, aggressively vet people that want to move to Europe, and let in, at a trickle, tens of thousands of people a year, which is my position. To go back to Blue Van Man's nonsensical debate with a fucking moron or a commie pretending to be an angry white man. My position is you don't need to be an extremist. You don't need to, because, and I'll say it loud and proud, because apparently this is controversial. I do not agree with full-blown ethnic nationalism, because I'm not a collectivist. And if you are one, you're basically a communist with a different color jacket on, right? What you do is you do the 80s approach. You fucking lock the borders down. You deport people that shouldn't be in your country, and you keep the ones that should. And like I said, if you've got someone who was born and raised in England, but his parents happen to be from Nigeria, but he's a good lad, and he's completely embraced the English way of life, and he works and he pays his taxes and he's never in trouble with the law, I have no interest in deporting those people. To advocate it is a collectivist ideology that I cannot support. I support common sense, conservative values, which is deporting everybody that shouldn't be there, aggressively vetting the people who want to be there, and then letting people be about the business in a liberal manner. That's what I advocate. You don't need to go all fucking blood and soil shit. If you just do the same common sense shit we did in the 80s, it worked. And you can't convince me it didn't, because I lived through it. There was like a black kid came to my school in 1993, because his dad was a doctor or something. I guarantee he's never broke the law, and his dad hasn't. And there's no fucking problems. And I guarantee now he talks like me and he supports Middlesbrough, the poor bastard. You will, exactly. There's tons of normal, reasonable, conservative things you can do that will get rid of fucking all the bad actors and stop Britain looking like Mogadishu for a logical reason, not just an irrelevant, racist, collectivist reason. I despise collectivism, so I can't be an ethno-nationalist. And this twat, like I said, I don't believe he was one. I think he was a commie trying to take the piss because he was refuting his own arguments. It's what you do. And if you do that and go back to the immigration process from 1985, you fix everything, because suddenly we'll be throwing out hundreds of thousands of people and letting in a trickle, few hundred a month. And you'll go from an NHS and a school system and roads and doctors and dentists and fucking council houses and everything, suddenly go from being all full and jam-packed to not full and not jam-packed, because we'll be lowering the population instead of expanding it. It'd drop off a cliff in about 2 years. Like, if you started doing it right now, the population would drop quickly, because we're not having enough kids. It'd fucking drop. And this idea, I mean, I don't want to talk forever, so I'll finish with this. The idea that Economics should be the be all and end all for any of these like mega pro-immigration fake conservatives in the Conservative Party who just constantly go back to the argument, oh, yeah, well, they all pay in, they'll pay loads of money in. They don't. Most immigrants that we get are unskilled. They're not making shitloads of money. They're a drain on resources. They aren't making money. And even if they were, this is the point I'm getting at, even if they were making money, there are more important things to life than money. Preserving our cultural heritage and the gifts of our forebears and keeping England English. So Lord of the Rings still makes sense, the Shire, instead of just turning it into some fucking futuristic dystopian hellhole where everybody from everywhere lives there and there's nothing binding them together. Instead of having that, we could go back to what it was like by simply enforcing existing laws and basically going back to what we were doing in the 1980s. The population would go off, and yes, we would have less money, but the money argument is an empty argument. There's more important things to life than money. New migrants get old too. They go, oh, they hardly ever use the NHS. They're all young. Well, they grow up. They're not fucking robots. They're not solar powered. The economic argument is a shit one. Close the borders, enforce the laws, deport the people that are there illegally, vet the foreigners that want to come in and allow them in after proper vetting if we have a skills need and they bring something to the table. Do that, things will get sorted quickly. But to end on a black pill, because you know I like to, it isn't going to happen because we've already lost. The march through the institutions was achieved. Silicon Valley and the mainstream media and the broadcast media and the radio networks and the TV networks and the printed media is all woke, and it ain't happening. Well, we could sort it out, but it ain't fucking happening. Unless it gets really bad, then we might sort it out, but it's a tragedy that it has to get bad before we sort it out, right? We don't like prevention. We don't. They all say prevention's better than a cure. We hate prevention. We hate prevention. We're the type of country who we won't go to the clap clinic when we have a slight itch when we piss. We wait until our eyeballs are bleeding. Our cock looks like a Cadbury's picnic when you've just took it out the wrapper. One ball's fucking 8 inches wider in diameter than the other. And you've got a sort of green weeping rash on your fucking nipples. Then we go to the clinic, right? That's what Britain's like as a country. We don't like prevention. We go, prevention's better than a cure. And then we wait until we are bleeding out of our arsehole before we go to see the doctor. So it ain't going to happen, ladies and gents. It's going to get much worse. And then it might get sorted out. But it ain't going to happen in the short term. So like I said, strap in, because 2024 is going to be much worse than 2023. And 25 and 6 are going to make 24 look like a fucking cakewalk. Because we don't do prevention, we just do cure wrung out at the end of a fucking sharp stick. That's what we're doing. Get used to it. All right? I'll call it a day there because I'm fucking hungry. See you all soon. Thanks for watching. Blue Van Man, don't be getting depressed about that silly daft cunt. Yeah, I advocate not talking to fucking morons on social media. Talk to people who talk sense, right? Easy. Right, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you all tomorrow. I'll be on tomorrow. And I'll be on time tomorrow. Well, more or less. All right, toodle pip. See you later. Cheers.